Hello and thank you for joining us on Newsweek, where we highlight some of the biggest stories that made headlines in the last 7 days. I am Esther Mokwariola. It is barely 4 years since the separatist agitations took a new turn in Nigeria when the group of northern youths gave an ultimatum to the people of Igbo ethnicity in the southeast to leave the 19 northern states of the country. Today, the voices of secession are louder than ever, with the likes of Nnamdi Kanu echoing the fact that the foundation for Nigeria's nationhood remains on shaky ground. And after more than 2 decades of various attempts at reforming the industry, the Senate has passed the Petroleum Industry Bill. Later on the show, we will take a look at the role of the oil and gas industry in Nigeria's economy and the opportunities for the country in the long term. On Tuesday, the Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, announced the rearrest of self-acclaimed leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, by operatives of the Nigeria Security Intelligence. Judiciary correspondent Celestina Iria reports.
3 years after jumping bail, the Nigerian government has intercepted Nnamdi Kanu. Nnamdi Kanu was on 14th October 2015 arraigned by the federal government over allegations of terrorism, money laundering and treasonable felony. On 28 March 2018, his bail was revoked by Justice Binta Nyanku of the Federal High Court.
Self-acclaimed leader of the proscribed secessionist indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu has, for your information, been intercepted through the collaborative efforts of the Nigerian intelligence and security services. He has been brought back to Nigeria in order to continue facing trial after disappearing while on bail regarding 11-count charge against him.
At the resumed sitting, counsel to the federal government applied for Mr. Kanu to be remanded in the custody of the DSS. Justice Binta Nyanku granted the application pending when Mr. Kanu's counsel is notified of his arrest. Nnamdi Kanu was hooded in black and smuggled out of the court by the DSS through exit used by judges. The matter was adjourned till 26th of July 2021. Celestina Iria, TVC News, Abuja.
Now joining me to discuss this, I have in the studio Omotola, political analyst, and Okenna Nebedum, lawyer, and he'll be joining me via Skype. So let's begin with you, Omotola. This situation of secession and self-determination has been re-echoing over the years in Nigeria this few weeks, if I would say. But what are your thoughts on the agitations getting louder this recent period?
Well, thank you for having me. And when you listen attentively to the voices of agitation, is as a result of the fact that people feel things are no longer working in the country and that there's marginalization, and also that they don't have a better share of what is happening and government is not in their favor. And as a result of this, they believe that breakaway is the way to go. However, what happened during the week when Mazi Nnamdi Kanu was intercepted and rearrested and made to face his charges in courts had a mixed feelings among people. Some people were happy and some people were sad. But for my own part, I feel that government should have a two-pronged approach of carrot and stick. Carrot in the sense that let government be able to demonstrate that the agitation of the people and the yearnings of the people, they are ready to listen and provide succor. And stick in the sense that the fact that we're silent and we're watching events does not mean that we're weak. If we have to use the stick, we'll use it. This should be able to balance things up. not concentrating on just consistently using the stick. I feel that the time has come where eminent Nigerians need to come together and mediate in this crisis between non-party, non-state actors and the government.
But, you know, in terms of mediation, is it just to find the middle ground? What exactly are you talking about? Because many have said restructuring perhaps is the way to go. So what are you proposing in this regard?
You see, when you have mediators, what you want to achieve is a win-win situation for both parties. And with the benefit of hindsight, try and see if we can avert what is about to happen, because there's so much fear, anxiety, and discomfort in the country. The eminent personalities are the ones that would understand the side of the government and also understand the side of the people, because don't miss the point. The people agitating have large followership and have sympathy from these people, and that is the problem. If we do not take that into cognizance, we are subtracting a large portion of the people that are angry, and that will be doing it at our own peril. So it's important that at this stage that we are, dialogue is very, very important, and that can be initiated by eminent people to try and find a lasting solution to this. The reason is that both sides are taking an extreme position. And let me tell you, there are three categories of people to this agitation. The category one are people that they just see it as a political advantage for them, that let's use it to distract the government of the day, that let's distract this government for the next 2 years and rubbish its credibility. That's category one of people supporting the agitation. The category two is that let's use this agitation to extract restructuring. That if we say we're going, at the end of the day, they give us restructuring. And then the category three, which is the smaller aspect and dangerous part of it, are people that they don't even want anything, than they're just going. So that these are this category. So the people that want to engage them must understand this. And let me tell you again that break away anywhere in the world, when a part of the country wants to break away, there's no peaceful path to it. There's no peaceful path. I mean, the president is not just going to sign it off because it's unconstitutional. The president has sworn an oath to hold the unity of the country. So he will do it in the best form that he wants to do it.
Apologies for interrupting your flow of thoughts. Those who are calling for restructuring, they're saying we should go back to the regional style of government where each region was in charge of their resources. So in more or less, power at the center should be less attractive, more or less, so that everyone is in charge of their zones, of their region. So there won't be any marginalization, so to speak, as what the country is rightly facing, where everything is lopsided towards one particular tribe or region, as it were. So what are your thoughts on what these agitations or what these proponents are saying could be the best option to adopt, as against what you're suggesting with mediation and all?
Now that's good, but you see that has to happen from their political leaders. The governors of each state, the legislators, the political appointees must agree to that position. They are the ones that should project that. And that's, they need to go back to these people and say, this is what we want. And then these people, in turn, will take it to Abuja. Because for that to work, the governors must agree. Why are the governors not agreeing to that? It is not for them to continue to say that. If the governors don't agree to that form of restructuring, that, okay, I think we need to go back to the region, the governors and the political office holders would have to be the people to agree to that. So the thing is, it is not, when you talk about restructuring, Restructuring of Nigeria is a continuous thing. It is not something that you just do once and that is all. Restructuring of Nigeria is why you have the National Assembly, to continuously restructure the country along amendments of bills, acts, and an amendment of the Constitution. That is the primary purpose of the National Assembly. But the people will tell you that they do not believe in the National Assembly, that they do not believe in the people there, that they are not going to achieve what they want. Now, this is another dimension, a kettle of fish entirely. But what the law and the parts that the law has is that you follow the National Assembly to restructure, and then you can now see the National Assembly trying to amend the Constitution. And you can see the reaction of people to it, and then you can also see the minimal participation of people to that Constitution that also questions what the National Assembly is trying to do.
So, but you know, with this position you've rightly put out, what other options are available if you think restructuring might not be the best option, apart from mediation, but might be the best way to go? What other options are available if we are to address this issue headlong?
Let me tell you that as long as we live as Nigerians, restructuring will continue to restructure Nigeria. That is certain. We would continue to restructure. Now, the part we need to take is that our democracy needs to work. The process which we use to elect our leaders is very, very flawed. People need to take back the democracy, because the democracy is your referendum. I mean, if these state agitators are very popular, what they need to do is to get into the arena and participate in the democracy and form a referendum from that democracy and then win the election. Oh, they'll say, oh, it's going to be rigged. But look, it's not going to be rigged forever. Unless we go the path of democracy where we fight for the process, for example, the Electoral Act that is about to be amended, our democracy is just 22 years. We need to work on our democracy so that the system can produce credible people, because we have credible people. So if we produce credible people, all these issues, we can begin to continue to engage without people arrested. Because if people have their own human rights and they're expressing their view, I don't think that it should cause for any kind of molestation whatsoever. But again, our democracy is still young. It needs to grow. We need to have participatory democracy. We need to have constitutional democracy. And then we need to have leaders that understand what the issues are. And that is what we need to concentrate. People need to turn out to vote. People need to understand that their vote is their power. Their vote is what will take them out of poverty. Their vote is what will give them security. But when you abandon your vote and you do not vote on when you're supposed to vote, and then the outcome of that election, you begin to now stage another chaotic process to get it out. It's not going to work.
So what about the institutions of democracy, which people have, rightly written off as not being credible enough to represent what the people are asking for? For instance, the electoral umpire, the legislative, and also the police. So what do you make of what we should do, to reform the democratic institutions? These
are critical democratic institutions that you mentioned, including the judiciary, the police, the INEC, and the legislative. The INEC of 1999 has evolved to 2021, and it just didn't evolve by everybody just sleeping and just looking at it. There was a time in this country that the law says you can only have only two parties. Chief Gani Fayemi went to court, and at the end of the day opened doors for multi-party. Now what we need to do is to begin to engage INEC. For example, the voters' education budget in INEC is not touched. That budget just lies down there. Now, when you do not educate voters, which is the primary assignment of INEC, and they do not do that before an election, what result do you want to have? So we need to begin to engage, and then we need to choose our fights. We need to fight intelligently. We need to fight with substance, not we just fight with sentiment, and then the facts are very far from us. because the facts are laid down, and not so many people understand what the facts are. So what I believe is that moving forward, which is very, very critical, our elder statesmen, and I keep on saying it, it's time for them to come out and begin to talk. Because the narrative out there is scary. The narrative is scary, the narrative is not true, and again, they need to correct that narrative, that until we begin to listen to ourselves, we can't move forward. When everybody takes extreme position that, oh, this is what I believe and that's how it's going to be, then there's a need for us to have the people we call the bridge builders to come together.
And that's a fine place to leave it. Thank you very much for your insights on this very issue. We need to go on a very quick break. You're still on to Newsweek. We'll be back with more discussions after this. The Petroleum Industry Bill has been passed by the 9th Senate, and this bill, which had suffered more than a decade of setback, was passed after a clause-by-clause consideration at Thursday's plenary. National Assembly correspondent TVC Adeyemo reports.
The National Assembly has broken a jinx that seemed difficult since 2008. The Petroleum Industry Bill that had become the albatross of successive dispensation has now been passed as a bill. The delay in the passage of the bill has been a major drawback in the development of the oil and gas industry, significantly limiting its ability to attract investments. At the Senate plenary, during a clause-by-clause consideration of the bill, there was still unease over the contentious clause regarding profit sharing for the host communities. The annual contribution of 3% actual operating cost by oil companies to the Host Community Development Trust Fund, cited in the committee's report, triggered a rowdy session. The people of the South-South agreed that the fund for host communities should be raised from 2.5% to 5%, a request that was immediately turned down by other lawmakers.
Don't see this as a stalemate at all. Agree this is democracy in action. Mr. President, we are now talking about a people that have sacrificed a lot for this country. Mr. President, no amount of percentage we put in this particular law that will be too much for these people we are talking about.
Let me try my best to say that we must never exhibit to Nigerians that we are incapable of offering the desired leadership at this critical moment of our history. So to call for division.
What we have been educated about this afternoon or this morning by the GMD gives us better ideas. This 3%, I know, may not be exactly what some of our colleagues want. But what is of consolation is that movement.
30% profit accruing from the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation was also earmarked for the search and exploration of crude oil in the northern part of the country.
Finally, the jinx is broken, and what is left is a presidential approval and signature that will ensure the bill becomes law and enhances competitiveness in business and hopefully improve the productivity of the oil and gas sector. TVC Adeyemo, TVC News, Abuja.
Well, I still have in the studio with me Omotola, political analyst, to share his thoughts on this issue, but unfortunately we couldn't connect with Nebedum on Skype to bring his thoughts to bear as well. So, we just heard the report over there, and some would say the PIB Senate passing it is a plus for this administration, but what do you make about the different clauses attached to the bill? Is it something we should celebrate? What are your thoughts?
Okay, let's look at it this way. This PIB bill is being on for the past 20 years, since the time of Yar'Adua. And the best they got to was the last House of Reps, National Assembly House of Reps, that passed, but it didn't pass through Senate. And then if you look at the oil and gas industry, that contributes 10% of GDP, 90 to 95% of our foreign exchange income, and then 60% of our total income. You will find out that is very critical. Now, this is probably a good news that came out last week, apart from the other news that we had. Now, we have to give it to National Assembly under whatever circumstance that they have passed this bill, because what they want to do is to ignite the economy, to revive the economy. You will remember that the same National Assembly said Nigeria is poor. And the reason why they said Nigeria is poor is because when you look at the oil and gas, the reason why they said it's poor is because the revenue is dropping drastically. Between 2014 and 2019, foreign direct investment that came into Africa was $90 billion. Nigeria only had less than 2% of it that came into Nigeria. In 2020, the investment in oil and gas was supposed to be $9 billion. It was only 53%, which represented 0.0055%. So what is that telling you? Investors are moving away from Nigeria. And what will be the impact of that? Our foreign exchange will go down, and then we are unable to defend the Naira. The Naira is at 500 Naira. If we do not quickly increase our foreign exchange, God forbid, it may go to 1,000 Naira. Now, the National Assembly have seen this, that this is a serious issue, that the economy may shut down if they don't quickly pass this PIB. Then secondly, the National Assembly also understand that they only have 20 years to enjoy the abundance of crude oil. Why? Because there is an energy transition. People are moving now, developed countries are mandating themselves to move from fossil oil to renewable energy. Now, when you look at all these things, I mean, nobody would need to tell you what happened in the National Assembly. Under 20 minutes, 318 bills were passed under this act in 20 minutes. And it was a rush because they need to get back the investors' confidence. Nigeria is the 10th largest producer of crude oil. You have 40 billion barrels of oil reserved. And then you have a target of 4 million barrels a day. You are still doing 1.2. So how do you do this when you are not investor friendly? And for us to get out of this economic quagmire that we found ourselves, this bill has become important.
All right, well, unfortunately, we cannot continue further because of time, but we appreciate your insights so far on this very critical issue. Omotola, political analyst, it's a pleasure to have your thoughts on the program.
Thank you so much for having me.
And that's our show for today. Remember, you can follow the conversation on our social media platforms at TVC News NG or on our website at tvcnews.tv. Until the next one, I am Esther Mopariola. Bye for now.